The Narendra Modi government seems quite enthused by the response to the initial public offering of Mazagon Dock, which means that there will be a bigger push to disinvestment among defense PSUs. Is this going to help Make in India? Is this going to help boost Make in India in the defense sector? Snesh Alex Philip will answer this and the other questions that you're going to send in the course of this conversation. So get going right away. Snesh, so let's just talk about the IPO of MDL to begin with. What kind of a response did it see?
Well, it has seen a very phenomenal response as far as this particular IPO is concerned. Remember that the MDL is based in Mumbai. You know, for the viewers who don't know, they are the ones who are making the Scorpion submarines, the 6 Scorpion submarines that have been made with French collaboration. They are also the front runners to back the contract for the P-75, that is Project 75 India of the Indian Navy, which under which 6 new conventional submarines are supposed to be built with AIP technology. AIP is Air Independent Propulsion System, which allows these submarines to stay underwater for longer duration of time. So coming back to this IPO, the issue has been subscribed 157 times.
Okay.
And over 157 times. And the Defense Ministry, the Defense Establishment is happy with this IPO. The government is happy with this IPO because it also shows that, from an investor's point of view, now the defense sector is seen, as a sunshine sector.
Right.
There is a lot of, the government has been speaking about Make in India, has been talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat and all. But as far as development on the ground was concerned, it has been largely lukewarm. But how, if you remember, when in 2018, when the IPO for the HAL, that is the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, came out, it didn't get the kind of approval that the MDL IPO got. So, but
the response
was not as good as the MDL IPO. But now with this MDL IPO doing well, the government, overall the Narendra Modi government is also looking at disinvestment. And this is not limited to just the defense sector, they're looking at disinvestment into multiple sectors. Now, for example, as we speak, during the corona pandemic, the government has also completed another 15% disinvestment in the HAL. So 2 years back, they had done 10%, so now another 15%, so which means that 25% the government has disinvested from HAL. Now, if you speak about BEML, now BEML, many consider it to be the defense collaboration. The defense component of the defense business of the BEML is actually lesser than what's of the civilian counterpart. The government has also gone ahead and disinvested a large number of its shares from the BEML also. Now, so the government's push is for disinvestment in getting out from the business of doing things. However, in defense sector, some of defense companies are critical. Defense is a critical sector.
Right.
So, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh had last year in the Parliament also made a statement saying that the disinvestment in defense has been taken with all the precautionary measures that needs to be taken. So, in a way, when it comes to critical companies, I think at no point would, I personally feel at this moment, at no point would the Defense Ministry be looking at eventually decreasing down. Will always have a controlling stake in these companies rather than giving out, doing disinvestment 100%.
Right. So, Snesh, as you mentioned, the response has been phenomenal. Does this mean there will be and keeping aside critical companies, critical areas, does this mean that there will be a greater push for disinvestment, or what are the future plans? Are there other companies in which disinvestment is, PSUs for which disinvestment is being planned?
Well, there is no doubt about the fact that as far as, because of this, as I said earlier, the government's larger emphasis, focus has been on disinvestment. And this is something that the Narendra Modi government has spoken about it across sectors. So this is not related to just defense itself.
Right.
Defense has been somewhat, it has been closely guarded. And rightfully so also at times. However, now with this, this experiment with this IPO, as I mentioned earlier, the government now sees that even investors have now started looking at defense as I mentioned earlier, a sunshine sector, which means that there is a greater confidence in the investor's mind that investing in defense stocks will give them the desired results.
And how does this boost Make in India? Because that is the premise of the conversation today.
Well, it's actually works both ways, while it will boost Make in India in the sense that because of disinvestment, the way that the companies function, it changes. And also it works, when I say it works the other way around also, I mean that, the fact that Make in India is happening, so hence the demand for stakes in these defense POCs will increase, and hence it will lead to a much better disinvestment process. So that's how it would be.
Well, as I always say, Snehesh, my knowledge of the defense sector is limited to your stories, I think. So I'll leave it to my viewers to ask questions. They always ask very informed, pertinent questions. Ishwar Patil, can India sell the BrahMos missiles to foreign countries, since BrahMos is a joint venture between India and Russia?
Well, BrahMos missile can be sold to a foreign company, provided that the Russian partner, as you rightly mentioned, BrahMos is a joint venture between Russia and India. So the Russians have to sign off on any prospective sale of BrahMos. So it doesn't mean, just because that it's been made in India, doesn't mean that tomorrow if India wants, he can simply stand up and sell to whoever. So if you would have noticed, there's a particular, I'm not getting into the specifics of it, but I can tell you for the fact that the Russians have signed off on the BrahMos sale to a country which is in talks with India over it. However, the talks are still on. There are larger ramifications, for the sale of a system like BrahMos, rather than just the Russian yes or no. So it's a work in progress.
All right. Prasad Zende, what are the updates on FGFA aircraft?
Well, the FGFA, if you're talking about the one that was happening with Russia is concerned, that is a dead project. The government has gone ahead and cancelled the joint development of the FGFA, that is a 5th generation fighter aircraft, for those who are not aware of this. So that particular deal with the Russians has been shelved completely. Now the government is now working on the AMCA, which would be actually not just a 5th generation aircraft, which would be more than a 5th generation aircraft, but would be, so there are different generations to it. So this would be somewhere between the 5th generation and the 6th generation. For example, the US is already now working on a 6th generation aircraft. So AMCA would either be a 5th generation aircraft or would be somewhere between the 5 and 6. So that is the progress as far as AMCA, that the 5th generation FGFA is concerned. So no FGFA, we're looking at the AMCA program, and this could actually end up becoming a joint product of both the HAL, which is the defense PSU, as well as a private venture. So there could be a collaboration between the government sector and the private sector as far as this AMCA is concerned.
Okay, the next question is very, very important. It's from M. Robin. What are you guys doing working on a public holiday?
I swear, that's a very good question, and that's $1 million question.
No, it's the nature of the beast. That's how our profession works. We have to work on all kinds of holidays. Okay, this is a question from Abhishek Khadanga. More important question is, what is the government doing to promote and incentivize local manufacturing? Also, we need more research and development. What about that?
Well, there is no doubt about the fact that we need more research and development, and I've always mentioned that Make in India doesn't mean, tying up with a foreign company, manufacturing spare parts and exporting them. The emphasis, the focus has to be on research, because that is what will eventually yield results in the years to come. However, as far as the steps that have been taken by the government is concerned, the government has taken a large number of steps to ease the business of defense manufacturing in India. It has now come up with, it has raised the FDI limit, automatic FDI limit, which is there, has been raised. It is promoting, joint ventureship between, the foreign company and the Indian firm. It is pushing for, it has come out with a negative import list, which means that, these are the 101 items that are there on the list. This list is going to be upgraded from time to time, which means that it also gives an advance notice to the foreign players as well as to the Indian players that, after such and such a date, this would not be imported. So which means that, it gives the enough time for the Indian manufacturing community to rise up to the occasion, and for the foreign collaborators to come in and tie up with the Indian collaborators. So there has been a lot of work that is happening in the defense sector. But eventually, as I, and every time that I speak to anybody from the industry, they always say one thing, we are putting in money, we are manufacturing things, but where is the order? So order is a huge, missing factor as far as defense is concerned. And hopefully, because remember that unlike any other sector, for example, let's say the FMCG or any other sector for that matter, the client list is big. But in defense, the client list is actually very limited for the manufacturer.
Right.
So it all depends on the orders, and hopefully, with time you will see more orders coming in. Like for example, even yesterday, we had orders from the army has gone ahead and tied up with a private company for the manufacture of 10 lakh hand grenades. So the orders are now slowly trickling in.
Right. All right. Ishwar Patil, don't you think the Navy is much ahead in indigenous procurement as compared to the other two forces?
Well, the Navy, as compared to the other two forces, of course, Navy is the front runner when it comes to Make in India, because at the end of the day, the ships are made in India. The steel, the major part of the Navy, when they say is indigenous, is because of the fact that the structure, the hull is made. The steel that is used is all Indian steel. It's made in Indian shipyards. But however, there are a lot of foreign equipment that comes into making of these ships, from including weaponry systems, the torpedoes and all are something that gets imported. Of course, remember that one needs to get the concept of Make in India very right. Make in India doesn't mean that every single part of a particular equipment would be made in India. That is absolutely impossible. Now, for example, I'll give you the example of, let's say, the Gripen, the Gripen fighter aircraft. Now, Gripen is a Swedish fighter aircraft. And Sweden makes it, but it doesn't mean that every single part of the Gripen is made in Sweden. No, it is not. The engine comes from the US. You have missiles coming in from France. You have missiles coming in from other countries in the Europe. You have, the radar is not manufactured in Sweden. It is manufactured by someone else. So there are a lot of things. So Make in India doesn't mean that every single element would be made in India. So that would be actually very foolhardy to focus on Make in India in such a way. And I also don't mean that India should end up being the integrator rather than manufacturing hub. So it's a process that will evolve with time. And as I said earlier also, that the focus should always be on research, because research, the investment in research now will yield results later on.
Right. Okay. CK Jaydev, how does a 25% disinvestment help? The government still holds the whip hand and the effect of privatization will hardly be felt. Well, that is true for any kind of disinvestment where the government still continues to hold majority stake.
Yeah.
All right. I'll take this one from Vidhan Raut. Is there consensus building up in the government and defense community regarding disinvestment in the defense sector? If yes, will this encourage more private sector participation and investment?
Well, there is I think the armed forces and the government and the defense establishment are on the same page when it comes to disinvestment. The armed forces, for that matter, and the government for that matter, are interested in giving more openings for the private sector to come in and get into the defense manufacturing. So you would see that there is an increased focus on ensuring that private players get to participate in contracts. So you have various categories that have been now been made part of the defense acquisition procedures, which focuses on and which focus on giving incentives that attracts the private players, domestic private players, as also some projects which are exclusively meant for the private players. So the forces and the government are on the same page as far as giving impetus to the domestic industry or Make in India is concerned.
All right. Nilesh Patil, is Tejas Mk2 fully indigenous?
Well, again, as I said, it cannot be fully indigenous. You will have a large indigenous content that would be there in the Tejas aircraft. But it doesn't mean, if you ask me whether 100% indigenous content, no, it will not be 100% indigenous content. Even, for example, even the current LCA Tejas that we fly, of course, the body, the fuselage is made here. But the fact is that there are various other components which come in from outside, including the engine for that matter, which comes in from outside. You have now in the future Tejas, for example, the radar, the ASR radar that is being built would be indigenous. There is an initiative. The Air Force wants the future Tejas to be powered by indigenous engines. So work is still on, on that particular front to have an indigenous engine. So if you're asking me whether Tejas would be 100% indigenous, I don't think so. At any point of time, Tejas would be 100% indigenous content.
Right. Okay, I'll take one last question. This is from Rita Singh. I want to know about the Ordnance Factory Board low quality ammunition.
Well, the Ordnance Factory Boards is under, there's a process to corporatize the OFBs. And the ammunition has been the quality of ammunition or the quality of product manufactured by the OFB has been a matter of concern. The Army has repeatedly flagged the quality issues with the OFB. This has been flagged to not just the OFB but also to the MOD, and the government is aware of it, and hence there's a corporatization program initiative that has been initiated, which has been opposed by the OFB Employees Union. If I'm not mistaken, they have called for a strike from the 12th of October. In a recent, recent internal report of the Army has come out. If you log on to our website, you can read the story by my colleague Amrita Nayak Datta, in which the Army mentions that from 2013, or if I'm not mistaken, from 2014, you had 27 deaths that have been attributed by the Army to the OFB, and these deaths have due to incorrect or due to faulty ammunition that has been used. Also, over around 157 Army personnel have also been injured due to the faulty ammunition being supplied, the faulty products that have been supplied by the OFB. However, this particular claim, which is an internal, has been denied by the OFB in a formal press release, in a formal press statement. You have these two sides fighting with each other, and there is no doubt. I speak to n number of people in the services, people on the ground, who continue to tell me that they do face issues with OFB products, with issues with the OFB ammunition that is provided. And this is something that even the OFB is aware, the services is aware, the government is aware, the Defense Ministry is aware.
Right. Well, Snesh, these were technical issues, but thank you for walking us through them so lucidly. I know I look blank because it's taking me some time to absorb a lot of it, but I will understand. There'll be a day when I will ask you more informed questions on defense.
Nothing of that sort. You ask me quite informed questions.
Well, that's kind of you. Thank you for sending in your questions, for watching Government Matters. Do keep subscribing to our YouTube channel. Enjoy your extended weekend, although no such luck for us.